Hi, I'm Dr. Reed, Clinical Director for Ultra Green Products. I want to talk to you personally about Syndrome X. 1 out of every 2 people in this country have Syndrome X, and it may be you. So pay close attention here. Help yourself, help your family, help your loved ones. It's very important. 1 out of every 2 people, that's a lot of people that have Syndrome X. Well, what is Syndrome X? Let's cut to the chase here. Number 1, Syndrome X is a problem that contains 4 different conditions. Conditions of life, how you're going through life. Some of you are going through life a little overweight right now. Some of you that are overweight have cholesterol issues. The same people may have blood sugar issues, and the same people may have some blood pressure issues. That doesn't mean you have a problem yet, but you're just a little over the line. Or they're sticky. In other words, one day your blood pressure may be cool, the next day it may not be. You may find that you're fatigued, you're tired. You may find that you're really hungry for sugar all the time. You may find that you're going up and down in weight, or you can't get the weight off anymore. And you may find that your blood pressure is sometimes a little high on certain days. If that's the case, Syndrome X may be knocking on your door. Let's go into it a little bit more. If we look here, the X has 4 corners. And this Syndrome X, we take a look at each one of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 1, the weight issues. Do you know right now 75% of everyone watching this is either overweight or obese? It's not all right. You cannot continue to go through life that way. You've got to do something about it now. It's even affecting kids as young as 6 years of age. So, you want to handle that weight issue. You want to be eating right and exercising and getting up and moving around. The next issue, blood sugar issues. This affects Americans and people to the north of us in Canada, Europe. We're eating too much sugar. The average person's eating around 150 pounds of processed sugar a year. We eat it in cakes and cookies and ice creams and sodas and energy drinks. We're spiking it with caffeine, etc. Because we're fatigued, we're tired, we can't make it through the day. And when that blood sugar gets elevated and then drops, you feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you. You will eat anything that walks or crawls that starts with the letter S or C, sugar or carbohydrates. You know what I'm talking about, you've been there. You sit down at dinner, you're starving, you feel a little punk, you feel a little weak, and you eat 6 or 8 rolls. Then when the vegetables come for dinner, you don't eat those, and you polish it off with dessert, a cup of coffee, and sugar in that. So we've got to do something about that. That's the second part of this syndrome. The third thing, cholesterol issues. I know this for a fact. 1 out of every 2 of you have cholesterol issues. Now, cholesterol is a waxy substance. It's made by your liver. It helps insulate your nerves. It makes all your sex hormones, and it keeps the cellular structure in the body there. It's like the studs in a wall. But too much cholesterol, do you know what that does? It plugs up certain arteries around the heart or going to the brain. And if you don't watch it, it can progress into a problem. So I want you to be aware of that right now. The last thing, blood pressure. 1 out of every 3 of you watching this right now has blood pressure issues. Now your blood pressure, now this is important, blood pressure should be no more than 120 over 80. 120 systolic, 80 diastolic. That means when the heart pumps at rest and it expands your blood vessels when you have the cuff around you, that shouldn't be over 120. In between heartbeats, the heart is relaxing. There's still pressure in the arteries. That shouldn't be more than 90. But many of you will find that your blood pressure sticks. It's starting to creep up. You may feel a little tired. This all leads to the 4 corners of Syndrome X, meaning simply this, and I'm going to give you an example. We're going to adjourn with that. If there were a freight train moving down a track at 80 miles an hour and 2 miles down, there's a railroad crossing, and the brakes on the train don't always work exactly right, and the railroad crossing has a bar that comes down, and It may work or it may not work, you never know. And the blinking lights may work or not work, you never know. And Joe's driving his car across the railroad crossing, and his gas gauge sometimes works and sometimes it doesn't work. There is no problem, but I can guarantee you that if the train keeps going with bad brakes, if the railroad crossing that has the railroad bar come down doesn't work half the time, and the lights only work half the time, and the guy's gas gauge on his car only works part of the time, sooner or later there's going to be a mess at that railroad crossing. It's funny how that crossing goes. Look at this. There's a crossing right here. We don't want you to end up with Syndrome X right here in the middle, the bullseye. So you can do something about it now. Call one of my consultants at 1-866-961-6445. Do something about it now. Step up to the plate. Only you can do it.